Tonight, if you're looking for a title, I guess the title would be, Are You Giving Into Your Temptation? Or Stop Blaming the Devil. You know, as human beings, we try, as human beings, many of us try and find someone to blame for everything that goes wrong in our lives. I mean, we don't take responsibility for anything. We're always trying to put it on someone else. Or, as for many Christians, we always try to put it on the devil. Well, I'm here to tell you that the devil is not always the one that's doing it. I mean, I'm not saying that he doesn't play a part in it. I'm not saying that he doesn't have anything to do with it. But a lot of times, it ain't the devil. It's us giving into temptation. You know, there was a comedian back in the 70s that had a character named Geraldine. And Geraldine's favorite line was, "The devil made me do it." You know, it was always the devil made me do it. And for many Christians, it's always when they got caught doing something, you know, it's always about, well, the devil. The devil did this and the devil did that and the devil had me to do this. It don't be the devil, it just be you. It just be you wanting to do what you want to do. I mean, you know, let me ask this question. Can you remember your parents telling you not to do something? And you went and did it anyhow? That ain't had nothing to do with the devil. You had a made up mind. You had a made up mind that you was gonna do so and so. I mean, you know, it's funny because I mean, you know, my mother told me that night, me and Pastor, a friend of ours, we walked the whole Charlotte Independence Boulevard. But my mother told me not to go to Carowinds that morning. She told me not to go. But no, I'm going. It'll be me, Howard, Pastor, and about 7 girls. I'm going to Carowinds. Care what Mama said, I'm going. Well, we head to Carowinds. Before we got there, my car broke down. You thought after my car broke down, we'd have some sense and turn around and go back home. No. I'm going to get another car. I'm going to drive a load to Carowinds, let them get in. I'm going to come back and get everybody else and take the rest of them up there because we going to Carowinds. We going to Carowinds that day. So we end up going to Carowinds, found a bus out there from Rock Hill, so we said, yeah, we got our ride back. Yeah. Man, we looked up, the bus gone. So now here we are, so, you know, me, Pastor, and our cousin Howard, being the gentleman that we were, we said, well, all y'all girls just pile up in this car, and we'll get home the best way we can. That didn't work out too well. I mean, you know, we got home, but like I told you, we walked that whole Independence Boulevard. We walked. We got, what, 2 rides? Because we were thumbing. We got about 2 rides added up to about maybe 3 miles. I mean, one ride we thought we had it. I said, man, I tell you what, the whole thing was, I said, let's get back to the car. We finally got to the car, and I said, well, you know, I said, Tony, drive it till it fall apart. And that's what he did. He drove it till it wouldn't go no more. And we sitting there, you know, being hard-hit, sitting there, side road. Every time I go through this town right now, every time, what's the name of the town? What's the name of that town? If I didn't need to name it, know it, I would know it. But every time I go through it now, I don't care how many colors or how many times they done changed the name of that gas station. I know it. And I know where my car was parked. And we woke up the next morning, everybody looking at me, everybody talking about, they scared, they scared. They talking about, where you going? I said, I'm going to go down and call my daddy. I ain't scared. All them do get fussed out. It don't matter. We got to get home. But see, that's doing what I wanted to do, you know. And then I had a sister that my mother wasn't too proud on smoking. So she told her not to smoke. And it's just a street down here called McCray Street. We call it the underpass. It's got a big sharp turn. There used to be a juke joint sitting next to the creek called Highland Park. So my sister, everybody coming home from Highland Park, everybody else put their little cigarette out. My sister want to be grown. She still want to smoke. Boy, we hooked that little big old turn, and we hooked that turn. My mama was standing right there. She liked to swallow that cigarette. But the one thing I can say, it sure quit her from smoking. She ain't smoked no more. But see, that's doing what you want to do. But we like to put it on. We like to put it on the devil. You know, when you look at temptation is an ongoing battle for us as Christians. It's more of an inside battle. The battle is between the spirit and the soul. And the strongest one will always win. It will always win. You know, as we look, the definition of temptation is the act of enticement to do wrong by the promise of pleasure or gain. You know, that's why we have such a hard time with sin. Because if it wasn't what we look at as fun, we wouldn't do it. I mean, who ever done anything that wasn't fun? You know, we thought we were having fun. It looked like we was having fun. But it really wasn't. But then, back in your soul, your man, you were having a great time. I mean, because if you take your hand and touch on a hot stove, you ain't gonna do that no more. You through with that. But sin is so, it creates this picture of being so great and so fun and so pleasurable, and you can get such a gain out of it till we have a problem with it. I mean, you know, be honest. How many times have you went to the cashier and you give her a 10 and she give you change for a 20? And you think about it, you know. But after he thinking about it, he put it in his pocket. He go. But I mean, you know, we all been there. I've done it. Hey, that's your mistake. Put it in my pocket. Thank God I've grown a little bit now. You know, I will give it back. I mean, you know, and a lot of times when you do that, people look at you strange. It's like, and you standing there like, what is wrong with them? I'm just doing what I know is right. But they look at you like, oh, something like that. But it's just that. I mean, you know, when we look at stuff like that, temptation, we've got to understand some of it. So let's turn to James 1, and we're going to look at just some facts about temptation. James 1, verses 13 through 18. I'm going to read it, then I'm going to come back and go over some things. It says, let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempt he any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away from his own lust and enticed. Then when lust had conceived, it bring forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bring forth death. Do not err, my beloved brethren. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and come down from the Father of lights, which whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Of his own will begot he us with the word of truth, that we shall be a kind of fruitful of his creations. So verse 13 says, let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. See, first of all, temptation is inevitable. Long as you live on this earth, you're going to be tempted to do something that's not good. You know, it's just gonna happen. I mean, you know, if Satan had the nerve to tempt Jesus, why not? Why don't you think he wouldn't tempt us? You know, it ain't if we get tempted, it's when we get tempted. And the sad thing is there's no perfect location. When it shows up, you can be on your job, you can be in church, you can be anywhere on an uninhabited island. Because there's no perfect place. I mean, if you thought there was a perfect place that you would not be tempted, the minute you show up to that place ain't perfect no more. Because you can't be tempted. It's going to come. It's inevitable. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be a preacher, a professional, a housewife, a monk, a truck driver, anybody. We all face temptation. We all face temptation. It's what we gonna do when they show up. I mean, you know, sometimes you just have to get out the way. Sometimes you just have to go. Get from around certain things. It just happens. It's been years ago. You know, I was in Walmart, me and my family, everybody was in Walmart. We was in Walmart doing our thing, walking around, and they had went somewhere, and I was over in another section, and these two little young girls was over there talking, and they talking about, that's a cute little old man right there. So me, with my first thought, old man still got it. My next thought was, let me go find my wife and my children and everything, because I'm not standing around here. Sometimes you got to get away from it. I mean, you know, they might have just been joking. I don't care what they was doing. I went and found my wife, and then I didn't leave them for the rest of the night till we got out of Walmart. Not have me to be talking about. But see, you know, sometimes you just have to go. You know, sometimes hard times can often lead to temptation. Satan uses this to fuel or offer us a way out. You know, sometimes when things ain't doing good, I mean, you know, and looking back at that, I can kind of see where some of that comes from. You know, we turn to drinking, like you know, like we gonna numb the pain or we gonna do this. But you know, could you get drunk on Friday night, when you wake up Saturday morning, that problem's still there. you just, you just wake up feeling halfway good or feeling with a terrible headache, but that problem is still there. It's still there. There's no way out. You know, some people like to cop an attitude or become bitter. Some people like to get even. Some people like to feed their anger. But none of that stuff works. None of that stuff works to solve your problem. See, we've got to just learn how to give it all to God. The second half of that says, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempt he any man. Temptation is never directed by God. Never. 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 You know, some people say, you know, they have these old sayings and everything, you know, God does this to trying to teach me something. Nah, if it's anything evil, God and evil can't exist in the same place. They just can't coincide. They can't exist. So temptation is never directed by God. You know, a lot of times, I like to ask yourself, how are you accepting responsibility for your actions? Will you admit wrong or blame somewhere else? You know, a lot of times we don't like to take blame. We don't like to take blame for our own actions. You know, it's like, well, if so-and-so hadn't have said this to me, then I wouldn't have cursed out. Or if so-and-so hadn't have did this, I wouldn't have did that. Or if he hadn't have done this, I wouldn't have did. You know, regardless of what so-and-so did, you really don't have to respond that type of way. They didn't make you do that. You wanted to do that anyhow. So you just went ahead and did what you wanted to do and laid the blame on somebody else. But a lot of times, it has nothing to do with them. I mean, you know, we put the blame on everybody. You know, when we was in school, we got bad grades because the teacher didn't know how to teach. Y'all ain't never heard that one? Yeah, ma. That old teacher don't know what she's doing. Pay attention. I mean, you know, I know. I mean, you know, I remember, when I was in college, I took physics. And I think I might have got a D in it, but and my thing was I could never understood the professor. I mean, he was from India, and the only thing I could get out the whole thing is when he get to the end of something, he'd say, "Isn't it?" And I'd be like, "Isn't it what? I didn't hear the first 15 minutes of what you were talking about." Isn't it? Isn't it? No, it isn't. I don't know what you're talking about. But you know, and that's it. I mean, you know, it goes all the way back to the first man. The first man, Adam. When he didn't do what he was supposed to do, the first thing he did was blame God for giving him Eve that messed up. You know, God asked him, you can find that over in Genesis 3 and 8. You got to turn that familiar story. God asked him what's going on. The first thing he said, that woman you gave me. But he was the one in charge. And looking at the story, it wasn't the way the story reads. It wasn't that he was so far away. The way the story reads, he was right there. All he had to say was no. But no, the fruit looked good to him just as well as it looked good to Eve. But he let Eve go ahead and do the thing, and then he blamed God for giving him that woman. We have to realize that God permits temptation, but he never directs it. You know, because it tells us that in 1 Corinthians 10, verse 13. I was going to quote it, but I'll probably mess it up. So let me get over here. It says, there has no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that you may be able to bear it. See, he will allow it, but he also says, first of all, he says, if it shows up, the first thing is you can handle it. Because he won't let it show up if you can't handle it. That's the first thing. Then he says, when it shows up, he will make a way for you to escape. But the problem is sometimes when that door opens, we don't take it. We don't take the way out because we feel we can handle it. You know, we feel like we can, okay, I can handle this. And no, when that door of escape show up, you have to go. I mean, you have to go. I mean, it's I remember when I was picking up medical waste, and I used to go to this Seaside Memorial Hospital in South Carolina. I used to go there early in the morning, so I can get them going. And this little young girl, she said something flirtatious with me about to the point that, you know me and you the only one on this floor. I said, yeah, okay, that's fine and good. I just need a key to get in the closet. Well, after that particular thing, I didn't go to that stop early in the morning no more. No, I can't. No, not that time of morning. Because I'm not going to walk into something when I know there's something wrong. I'm not going to keep toying with it. You know, sometimes we like to toy with it. Nah, you can't keep toying with temptation, because you keep toying with temptation. Temptation has a way of winning. You know, you can't just keep toying with it. So I stopped going there early in the morning. That was I put it close to where everybody's walking around up in there. Cause yeah, I mean, you know, you have to be honest with you. You know, you have to be honest with yourself. Cause I mean, you know, it's one thing to fool me, but when you fool yourself, you're in a bad place. you're in a very bad place when you fool yourself. Get back over here to James. You know, because in the 14th verse say, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away from his own lust and enticed. Temptation comes from our own evil desires. You know, when you read that, James placed the blame solely on the individual. He don't put it on nobody but the individual. Us. That's where he puts it. On us. You know, and since he puts it on us, we have the right to yield or refuse temptation. And that's an individual act. You can either leave it alone or you can fall into it. You know, temptation that leads to sin always follow the same pattern. it says, well, see, stop back. But when every man is tempted, when he is drawn away from his own lust and enticed, then when lust has conceived, it brings forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, brings forth death. It's like fishing. Temptation is like fishing. When you go fishing, the first thing you do is bait the hook. And normally, that's what temptation does. It baits you. You fishing, you throw it out, and you're trying to see what you can catch. So temptation is like that. It's trying to see what it can catch. You know, when you're fishing, sometimes the fish a little nibble on your little line. You pull it, you miss it. He'll nibble on your line, you pull it, you miss it. And that's normally with us. Temptation shows up. Instead of us just say we don't bother with it, a lot of times we just mess around and we nibble at it. We'll take a nibble at it. Then we'll take another little nibble at it. And then we'll take another little nibble at it. For it's all over. We mess around here, and just like the fish that kept on nibbling at the bait, he mess around here and takes a big bite, and then you got it. And a lot of times with us, that's how we are with temptation. We nibble at it and nibble at it and nibble at it, and then all of a sudden we done looked up, we done swallowed the whole hook. And now we out there. Because just like the fish might be hungry, and that's what is attracting it to the bait, well, our inner desires is what is attracting us to the temptation. You know, because in some way, we really want to do this, but then we don't want to do it, but we really want to do it. So we toy with it instead of just leaving it alone. You know, like the scripture says, bring every thought into the obedience of Christ. Sometimes when that thing show up, you just need to bring your thought pattern back to the obedience of Christ and say, go on about your business, because I'm not falling for this temptation today. See, and the minute we yield, or the minute when the fish takes the big bite of the hook and get caught, and the minute we yield to this temptation, that's when sin occurs. The sin doesn't occur until you yield to it. Even though you're nibbling at it, it's still not sin. But once you bite it, once you take the whole hook, line, and sinker, then now it's sin, because you have yielded to that temptation. I mean, we have all the tools. God give us all the tools that we don't have to yield unto temptation. But sometimes we want to do it. And most times, temptation or sin ends up in tragic consequences. I mean, you know, once you grab the fish, once the fish hit the hook and you grab it and roll it in, you know, the next thing you finna do is gut him and put him in the pan. Well, normally with temptation, once you yield to it, you've done destroyed something. If it's fornication, you done destroyed a marriage. If it's stealing, you done destroyed your life. If it's hurting somebody, you done destroyed their life plus your life. So yielding is not the sin, but once you take the whole hook, line, and center, then that's the sin. You know, the Bible tells us that over in Hebrews 4, Hebrews 4. I'm looking in the wrong thing. No wonder I can. Hebrews 4:15 says, For we have not an high priest without which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we were, yield without sin. So there's nothing wrong if you're yielding to temptation. It's not sin. Jesus was tempted, but he did not sin. You can be tempted and not sin. But you just have to don't give it a place. Don't give sin a place in your life. We don't have to turn there. When we look at Joseph, when Joseph was in Potiphar's house, and he was accused, Potiphar's wife was coming on to him. But he did the next best thing, really. He just ran. He left coat and everything. And sometimes that's what we need to do. We need to run. When temptation show up, you just need to run. You just need to get out of it, get away from it, let it go, let it have its thing. Because the more you nibble at it, the more likely you're going to fall into it. I mean, most times that I found myself in some crazy situation, it was because I didn't run when I should have. When I had the opportunity. It's like I said earlier, God gives you the opportunity. He says, first of all, he says that he won't tempt you more than he won't allow any temptation to come at you that you can't handle. To me, that's awesome because I know as Christians you ought to understand that if it shows up, God has already said you can handle it. He's already said you can handle it. Excuse me. And the thing, then he says, even though I let it show it up and you can handle it, I'm going to still give you a door to get away from it. But a lot of times, as I said earlier, we don't like to take the door. So we just want to sit there and play. And tinker. You know how we like to put one foot in and snatch it back. Put one foot in and snatch it back. And then next time you put it over there, stay. And then and then that's you. I mean, you out there now. And then you wonder, and the thing about temptation, the thing about sin, it gets you out there, and then it keeps you out there longer than you want to be out there. That's the sad thing about it. You're out there longer than you want to be out there. And the best way to handle temptation, one way is to don't tolerate it. Just don't tolerate it. When it shows up, get out of it. Get out of it quickly. Get out of it as fast as you can. Let it go. Whatever you need to do. If you need to leave wherever you're at, if you need to just go talk to somebody, call somebody, do anything, just get away from it. Don't tolerate it. Don't think you can handle it all the time. Just let it go. And the other thing is stay out of situations that you're tempted to do. If temptation starts showing up all kind of ways, stay out of that situation. Stay away from it. I mean, it's like when I first got saved. Man, I couldn't go on the corner and stand around on the corner and talk to the boys like I used to. I couldn't do it because I know me. I would have been slipped back so fast till it wouldn't have been nothing to do. I mean, because you get out there, you think you got it all underhand, and get out there and get back with your boys that you thought was boys, but you found out they wasn't nothing but the devil anyhow, because they gonna test you. They gonna try you. Come on, man. Just get one beer, man, one drink, man. Come on, man. I understand. I understand you trying to change your life, but just have one for the boys. Come on, man. And see, me, and see me, and I know me. Like I said earlier, I know me personally. I know me. One wouldn't have did nothing for me. That was just something to get me started. So I couldn't hang with them. I couldn't go hang out with them because I didn't want to slide back to where I know they were trying to get me to go. And I didn't want to be tempted that way. Because God will lead you. And I'm going to lead you with this last story. I know y'all heard it before, but the last time I really, really got tempted, I was sitting on my porch, me and a friend of mine. And he was doing what we normally do when we sit on the porch, and ain't nobody but me and him. So don't nobody be in the house. Don't be nobody but me and him. Sitting on the porch, do what we do. He was doing what he do. I'm sitting out there talking. And stuff started smelling good. And I'm like, Lord, I really don't know what I'm going to do here now, Lord. And so we still talking, and do what he do again. I'm like, okay, Lord. 1 John 1:9 says, if you sin and you confess your sin, he's good enough faithful to forgive you of your sins. I say, because that's what you're going to have to do here in a minute. Because I can't take much more of that. And the minute I said that, I looked up the road, and my wife was coming across the track. I knew that would bust up everything right there. I said, Lord, thank you. Because in my evening prayer, I was going to had to ask for forgiveness, because I'm sure finna slip back to something I had no business slipping back to. But I would have did it. But see, that's temptation. But I never let it happen again, though. I never let him get me like that again. If you're going to go ahead, man. You go ahead and do what you got to do. I'll talk to you later. I didn't put myself in that situation again, because I felt at that time I had been saved maybe about 2 years or so. So I thought I was strong. Mighty man of God. Strong, walk through fire. God let me know I hadn't arrived yet. But you just can't keep putting yourself in those situations when it comes to temptation. So leave you with this. Stop blaming the devil. Take blame for yourself, and don't let temptation rule your life. Amen. I'll open the floor up for prayer. Anybody needs any prayer for anything? Well, if not, let us, with all hearts and minds are ready, let us stand and we have our prayer of dismission.